We are honored to have our state chairman here for our April meeting. In January of this year, Eric Holcomb was selected unanimously by the Indiana Republican State Committee to serve as chairman of the Indiana Republican Party. Mr. Holcomb is a graduate of Hanover College, after which he served in the United States Navy at VS 27 in Cecil Field, Florida, and abroad at a NATO war headquarters in Lisbon, Portugal. During his time in politics, Mr. Holcomb has served as campaign manager for Congressman John Hostetler, where I got to know him actually, and former Vincennes Mayor Terry Mooney. He also led Governor Mitch Daniels' astounding 2008 re-election campaign, and most recently served as Deputy Chief of Staff in the Governor's office. Here to talk about the state of the Republican Party, as well as what's ahead for the future, and to take some of your questions, please welcome our state Republican Chairman, Eric Holcomb.
Thank you, sir. You heard that right, really tough military duty, Florida and Lisbon, Portugal. Yeah. It's always hard to follow Steve's voice, although he does have a face for radio. Steve has always done a great job, as has Barb, of keeping us downstate in touch with not just Allen County, but actually the whole district and the region up here in Northeast Indiana. So we're very grateful for all that you all have done and continue to do. Most importantly, for who you continue to elect and send down to the State House at this very moment. It's obviously crucial to what we're getting done. It seemed that might be in jeopardy at times earlier this year, as you well know. 36 days on a self-imposed exile in Illinois. The Democrat Party tried to bring your voice, tried to silence your voice rather, and bring the process to a screeching halt. Fortunately, their conscience got to them, I hope, and they decided to return, or maybe it was just the bad polling numbers that they were realizing was affecting their futures. They did more by that dodging their duty than we ever could to have branded their party. But I wanted to talk a little bit about your Indiana State Republican Party and the contrast between the two at this moment of time. We've always prided ourselves on being the party of purpose and try to live up to that. We've always turned the cards face up, showed people what we believe in. So here's our plan. Here's how we want to go about fixing the problems that we face. Here are our recommended solutions, and then try to rally people around those ideas. That's why it's refreshing on a national level to see people like Congressman Ryan offer such a bold plan as well, and challenge the opposition to counter with a plan of their own. Maybe we'll hear more about that tonight from the president. Governor Daniels has always practiced that since day one. Very bold agenda. Again this year, I think now that we're back on track at the State House, we'll pass one of the boldest, if not the boldest, educational reform packages in the country. We'll pass an automatic tax refund, which literally controls the size and scope of government in good times and bad. We'll seek to cut the corporate income tax rate, and most importantly, we'll pass another balanced budget without any tax increases, which is incredible when you think about it in the times that we're living in right now. And it's only because of leadership from the governor, from Senator Long, and Speaker Bosman and their caucuses that we're able to achieve this. So once again, a plug for Senator Long and all that you do to help make sure that he continues to serve in that capacity. So the first thing is that we are the party of the purpose. The second thing that we try to focus on very early on to position Indiana, which has become kind of the Indiana story. Folks have referred to Indiana at this time as an island of growth. People are actually moving to Indiana, not out of Indiana. We have a AAA credit rating. We are paying our debts down while other people are racking debts up. We are decreasing taxes while other people are increasing, trying to survive through this time. But one of the first things that allowed us to get to that point was we reorganized state government. You all remember some things were more controversial than others. But again, it's taking on those big problems and saying, how are we gonna address that and not just kick that can down the street further? So first and foremost, when the governor took the oath of office in 2005, January 2005, he told every agency, every board and commission, look, we have one central focus. we're going to try to raise the net disposable income of Hoosiers. So everyone, no matter if you're a small board or a large agency, what are you going to do to help contribute to that end? And I can tell you that change in culture proved to be extremely helpful when you stop and think about who's attracting jobs in the country right now and who's not. That what is the culture of a state? And you know, I can give you countless examples, but one of my favorites is the pharmacy board, this little board that was grants permits. We were competing for some jobs with another neighboring state to our south, who shares a river. They'll remain nameless, but and it was a major pharmaceutical distributor, and they were looking at that state and us. And it came down to the company approached both of the pharmacy boards, and they went to the southern competitor and they said, we'd like to get on your docket, we'd like to get on your schedule and agenda and get these permits. And they said, well, you know, okay, well, we're full up on this next meeting coming up in a week or two, but we can get you on the next quarters. And they came to Indiana and they made the same pitch. They said, we'd like to get our permits pushed through. What do we need to do? When can we get that done? And our board said, well, we'll call an emergency meeting. We'll do it next week. When do you want to do it? You want to do it tomorrow? When do you want to do it? So that company moved to Boone County, Indiana. You're talking about high-paying jobs. And it started with just a pharmacy board because everyone is tethered to that one mission. Or if you look at the B&B at the very outset, and we said, okay, so some branches are being used more than others, some are losing money, most aren't networked to one another. How are we going to go about better serving taxpayers? Do we need to always do our business in the office, or can we do it online? Can we do it via mail? How do we go about that? And you know the end of that story. Now we have about a 94% approval of the way B&B transactions are handled. You can get in and out of a B&B in Indiana in under 10 minutes, and you can check how long it's going to take you before you can go online. It's fairly amazing when you stop and think about it from a customer's perspective, how far we've come so fast. Another thing we did that allowed all this, of course, and it's gotten a lot of recent play in the national media because of Wisconsin, Florida, Ohio, was on the first day of office back in January 2005. The governor ended as state employees did as collective bargaining. And it used to be that you couldn't move a salt shaker in the cafeteria without getting the blessing of the union. And it's very interesting what the governor did. And he was able to strike it down. It was in statute. It was an executive order, it wasn't law. So he was able to strike it with his pen overnight. But what he did is he allowed union members to opt out, voluntarily go and say, I want out of this arrangement. Didn't force them, didn't end it, and then say you can rejoin. Said you're liberated, you're free if you wish to go. So you fast forward to today, and over 90% of those members have opted out, which is pretty incredible when you stop and think about they chose to opt out on their own. And we're now at 1978 level of state employees. Very few states can say that they're at, well, no other state can say they're at that level, and also claim that the service has gone up. So reorganizing state government was key to do at the very outset, led by, obviously, Republicans. Third, and equally important, was getting our fiscal house in order. Sounds obvious, has to be done. Always easier said than done, but simply paying off your debts, surprise, surprise, does put you in a better position, especially when you're sailing into stormy waters. Not only did we pay off our debt, but we then look to say, once we have a balance, our balance sheet is of course balanced, then we can look toward cutting taxes, not the other way around. We need to be on solid ground before we do that. And lastly, I would say we've always tried to put the taxpayers first, or look at it through the taxpayer's perspective. And in doing so, whether it's cutting property taxes or so on. In doing so, you're able to broaden your support for the bold initiatives that you're promoting. So I just say that as part of what you all have helped lead, and only because of you all. I just listed a few examples of recent accomplishments, but only because of Allen County Republicans have we been able to stay on the offensive and play the ball and lean into it and have that plan that we're able to offer up and say, okay, so if not this, if you disagree with this, what is your plan? And quite frankly, we've been blessed with opposition who has been fairly silent, or at least their only plan was to say no to what ours is, and at times even leave the state. I would add that if we're going to go forward, there's one thing we do have to do, and it is that we have to broaden our party. It's one of my chief responsibilities and one of my main goals, specifically into the younger ranks. And I'm talking about high school Republicans and college Republicans and young professionals. We have got to broaden our reach. There's never been a better time for younger people to be associated with our party and our cause, our mission. I mean, you just think about the things that we're talking about, the budget and the debt and the deficit. This is a big bill that's coming to a wallet near them soon. So if you can relate that, those topics to them and seek their help in solving them, our party's going to be much stronger for it. I'll just say in closing that, because I've heard about, before I take questions, I've heard from a couple of folks already, just walking in today, that some people have hinted or talked about maybe the same approach is needed on the national level, and maybe there's a model, maybe there's an example in the heartland that folks in Washington could look to and maybe learn something from. In fact, I thought maybe when the president was scheduled to come to Indiana last week, he might ask for suggestions on how to balance a budget. But that trip got canceled. Obviously, the cart was in front of the horse when they made those plans and sent their advanced teams out here to visit our great state. And they turned their attention, rightly so, to the issue at hand.